You got any idea what I'm meant to be looking at on this? It's just a bunch of numbers. I don't know what I'm meant to be looking at. It means nothing. No? No? Let's get into it. We're going to look at the PM5 and the PM3 Concept 2 screens. We had a few questions about how to use it, what you should be looking at, and why it's important to know those numbers. So let's get into why it's important and what it's for. So the screens on the Concept 2 machines, the ROWERs and the SkiErgs, are performance monitors. There's two ROWERs that we've got the PM5 screen, which is these kind of thinner, newer ones. These are also on the SkiErgs. There's two ROWERs that have got the older screen, the PM3 screen. If you're not sure which one's which, it tells you on the top of the screen, on the actual plastic piece, in the top right-hand corner. They're pretty much the same. The PM5 is a new updated version of it with there's some new things in there, new menus, new things to look at. It's a bit more responsive. So we're going to look at what you can find in those screens. They're pretty much the same, so let's get into that. First of all, the screens are called performance monitors. So it's monitoring your performance on a given exercise, on the rower or the SkiErg. It tracks things like your stroke rate, it tracks things like your total time, your split times, your intervals, your paces. You can set really cool workouts, you can set pace boats to row at a certain pace to keep up with. There's a load of different things that we hardly touch the surface of because we don't necessarily need to, but it's also just nice to know the basic functions on the screens we do use. So that is what we're going to go through. All right, so when you come to the screen, you can turn it on by pressing menu. This goes to the same for the SkiErgs as well. This is kind of your main menu. Most of the time, if you're just warming up, we can go on Just Row, click that, and it comes up with a basic screen. So the top one here is your time that you've been going for. This is your kind of split time if you're doing 500 meters, because it's a nice little kind of pacing, which we're going to come to in a minute. This one is your total meters. And this one here is your stroke rate, so how many strokes you're doing per minute. This is your basic screen. You can change the screen by pressing display, and it cycles through a bunch of other screens. I particularly like this one, it gives me a lot more detail. All the same details you've just seen are at the top half of the screen, so your total time, your stroke rate, your split time for 500 meters, and then your total meters. And at the bottom here, you've got your average. So if you're doing multiple sets of this, it will tell you your average pace, which is really nice to know. And if you're running for 30 minutes, this will be your projected meters in 30 minutes. So again, it's just nice to know. You don't need to know it. You can cycle it again. It gives you your kind of power screen. There's a pace boat, so in one of the screens you can kind of you can set a pace in, and it will be the pace boat's here. This is your boat, and also the idea is to try and keep up with the pace boat. You can press display again to cycle again. This is another kind of power screen, really nice one to sort of check your technique as well. You should see a nice sort of even curve on this. It's like a rainbow type shape. If it's anything but that, your technique's probably a little bit off. It's a really nice one to sort of gauge technique. You can kind of press that again, and it goes back to the start. If you want to change these units, we do a lot of calorie work in the classes, so if you want to change that, you can press change units, and it'll go to various other screens. You can cycle across. This is a watt screen, so it's a nice one to sort of measure power. And then we're going to do calories. You can press display again, and it'll give us that, so you can check your meters as well as calories, so you get a bit of an idea of how long it takes you to do certain things. So that's going to be the screens that we're probably going to use. You can cycle it again, change units again, and there's some various other screens that you can go through. Let's go back to the one that we like using, which is the second one there. We'll go on to meters. So that's going to be a way of doing that. If we're looking at doing intervals, so on the aerobic day at the moment, we're doing interval-based type workouts. We can select a workout. You've then got these kind of other menus. So standard list, you've got a 2,000 meter row, a 5,000, a 10,000, a 30 minute, and then a 500 meter intervals with a minute rest. You can click on these, and they're pre-programmed workouts in the machine. Same on the SkiErg as well. There might be various distances, but it's kind of the same sort of screen. We can go to a custom list, and it gives us various other options. We don't really use that one, to be fair, but there is a 30 seconds on, 30 seconds rest, which we've done before, which we use that sometimes. And the good thing about having it programmed in the machine is that it tracks everything that you're doing. So it tracks your meters, it tracks your calories. So if you're tracking a certain distance or a time frame we're going to come to on, say, like an interval workout, you can go into the memory at the end of the workout and it'll have everything logged there for you. You can take a picture on your phone, you can write it down, but it's in the the rowing memory. You can then kind of go back to the menu again. If you want to do an interval workout, we can go to new workout. We can do intervals, and we're doing a workout we did the other week was 5 minutes. So we can go to intervals and time, because we're going for a time frame, or you could do, if you're going for like 500 meters, you could do a distance interval. We're going to go for time. So let's do, we're going to row for 5 minutes. Oh, wrong one, pressing the wrong button. We can go back to this. We can set this for 5 minutes by pressing the plus and minus buttons. We can then go across to the rest time, wherever it's gone. It's flashing which one's on. We can go to let's say 2 minutes. We can press the tick. We've got the 5 minutes ready to go. We've got the interval 1. Once we start rowing, this will count down to 0. It'll go, and it will then start the automatic 2-minute rest period, and it will just keep looping this. So it'll say intervals down here. You've got interval 1. Once I've done 1, it'll go again, and it'll go again, and again, and again, and again, until it comes to stop. And the good thing about this one is if you go into the memory at the bottom of the screen here, we can go to list by the date, and we should have all the ones we've done in the last few days. So if I just click 19th of it's got May 2020, that's obviously not the right date. We can go into that though, and it tells us the split times, the meters, the times, the stroke rate, all that kind of stuff. It gives us all the information in these screens. Let's see if we can go back and find a better one there. No, not this one, but yeah, but anyway, you get the idea, obviously the screen. When we're rowing, and we're on this kind of screen here, what we're trying to do is most of the time in those sustain classes, we're trying to keep this, the stroke rate and the pace consistent. If I was to start rowing now, this number should be say like 2 minutes, and it shouldn't be going to like 140, 225, 226, 147. It should be pretty much consistent, give or take a few seconds either side of that. Also the stroke rate, the higher this is, not necessarily how the faster you're going. This should correlate with this number, so your stroke rate should correlate with your split time. If this is consistent, this should probably be consistent as well. If you're pulling less, you can still work hard and get this down. So the misconception is the slower that is, the slower you're going to have to be working, which is not the case. So if we're to press just row now, and we're going to do a little bit of a kind of a short row. I won't do too much because obviously the camera's right in front of me here, but I'm going to pull this, and you'll see this number start to creep up on the screen. The top right hand corner, if I go at that speed, it was 64 strokes a minute. And if we're doing a 500 meters, it's that big time in the middle, that sort of 412 now, 417, 418. When we're moving, that should be pretty much consistent. On certain workouts, we want to try and be nice and steady. Sometimes we want to be a little bit quicker. This will correlate generally with this number. So if we try and be quicker, this should come down, that should go up. We can also be steady. So generally, if we're doing like a 5-minute row, from my own experience on my rowing, I'll row at sort of like 19 to 21 here, and this will be between like 156 and 2 minutes. So that's going to give us a nice sort of even, sustainable pace. If I'm rowing at 30 strokes a minute, and this is going to be, I say like a 140, that's a lot quicker pace for me, and it's probably going to be a little bit more unsustainable. If this number in the middle is jumping about from 423 to 504 to 336, rather than being consistently like 420 to 423, then that means that we need to kind of work on a bit more pacing type work. So get used to kind of a stroke rate up here that's consistent for you, that you feel like you're working hard, maximising the technique, but also maximising your pace, but also kind of keeping this number ready to be consistent. So that is the Concept 2 PM5/PM3 screen, both on the rowers and the ski ergs. We've gone through the setup of the menus, what buttons to press, what to read, and how it correlates with the other sort of metrics on the screen. If you need any other help or questions regarding the screens or how to maximize it, let us know, and we'd love to show you some of the more detailed things there about technique and how you can access those things and maximize them. Hope that helps, guys. Any questions, like I said, drop us a message. Other than that, have a great day.